inspection. That'll be closed until tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. So I-5 is really your only freeway option through downtown, and right now you're delayed about 8 minutes from one side of downtown to the other. It's going to take you a little bit of time, and the fog isn't helping things. In fact, it's so foggy, I can't even on the camera see from the top of the bridge down to the ship canal at this point. Meanwhile, in Bothell, northbound 405 after 522, the HOV lane is blocked by an accident there. You're getting by to the center at right, but it's pretty slow going up from 522 northbound to 527. Meanwhile, elsewhere, things don't look too bad. I-90 across Lake Washington looks okay, and that's important because 520 across Lake Washington is shut down until Monday morning at 6 a.m. is when that bridge will reopen. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
And a forecast for the weekend sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Plan on, once the fog burns, if you still see it, we'll get to partly cloudy to mostly sunny, high near 70. Even warmer tomorrow, sunshine after fog and morning clouds. Shorts, t-shirts, sandals today, but then we're back in coats and rain gear with increasing rain on Monday. Right now, 48. I'm Mark Christopher, Northwest News Radio.
The following program was paid for by LifePoint Law and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Radio management or staff.
Aging Options, how can we help?
It's time to know your options and master your future. My life, my plan, my way. LifePoint Law presents Aging Options with elder law attorney and life planning coach Rajiv Nagaich. Health, housing, finance, legal, and family. Know your options. Aging Options is not a law firm, but Rajiv is a lawyer. You should not reveal things you wish to keep confidential in this public setting. This program offers general advice. Having your questions answered does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. Contact your attorney or other professional to discuss your unique needs before taking any action related to the subjects discussed in this program. Now, here is nationally recognized retirement planning authority and host of national public television program, Master Your Future, Rajiv Nagaich.
You're wondering what kind of a show is this? It's all about retirement of things no one talks about. I ought to know. I get the honor to be the producer. Hi, it's Mark Christopher. We'll bring on host Rajiv Nagaich here in just a moment. Just this hour alone for the program, 3 acts of retirement is one topic. Retirement should be a rewarding time of life, right? But the reality is that our retirement years are often lived out in 3 distinct phases, almost like a 3-act play. Planning and preparing for each of these 3 acts can be a key to a truly secure and satisfying retirement, as you will find out. How about Social Security at 62? We've heard the advice for years, right? Best to wait as long as possible to claim Social Security benefits, and generally that's true, although there may be circumstances when early filing can be a good idea. How about women as caregivers? More women than ever now in this country are doing such as the workforce, and at the same time, more women than ever are serving as caregivers, often unpaid. Millions of women essentially face the burden of holding down 2 full-time jobs. Are there solutions on the horizon? That'll be a subject, and I got to believe, too. That's the reason we're going to bring in Joe Hillier as a guest here of Home Watch Caregivers, an agency that provides the highest quality of home care at an affordable cost. Once again, a full show, an hour to do it. You are important, too, for phone calls anytime. Get to know the number, 206-421-1000. Rajiv Nagaich, good to see you for another week.
Hey, it's great to see you. And today we've got Joe Hillier from Home Watch Caregivers. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hey, thank you, Rajiv. Thank you.
You know, and Mark, today we're talking about, as always, Tony does such a great job of, pulling all these stories together. We look at retirement from the perspective that somehow doesn't always connect with the people, right?
Right.
And for example, the one story that we talked about, planning the phases for retirement. And if you read the story, it talks about, and in different ways it says this one has a different nomenclature that they're using, but effectively it's the same thing that, in retirement, there are 3 phases. The first phase is the go-go phase. You just first retire, you got lots of money, lots of time, got a bucket list, and we need to do something. And so that's really what we plan for the most part. And then the second phase is the slow-go phase, right? You've done all the traveling, and traveling is now getting old, or maybe the health is now getting to a point where traveling is not what it used to be. So we're going to slow down and we'll be living in our own home, and we need to be looking at that phase a little bit differently. And then finally, there's the no-go phase, right? Most of us are going to be dealing with the no-go phase, which is when our body is not cooperating anymore, and how do we deal with all these issues? And what I find interesting and curious is, on the one hand, when you ask people, How do you want to, what would you define to be a good, successful retirement to have lived out? And no doubt, I think majority of us would agree that, hey, give me a future where I have lived a long, healthy life, go as long as I could. When it was slow go, I was with my family and loved ones. And when it was a no-go, I was able to live out my life in my own home without going broke or becoming a burden to my loved ones. And then you take a look at, we know what we want, how we would like to define the whole thing, but how does it play out? 70% of us do not get to live out a life at home. That's the no-go years, right? 70% of us do not get to live out lives in our own home all the way to the end. 69% of us feel we've become the burden we didn't want to become. That really is what this article is talking about. Look at your planning. What have you done? Are you ready for the go-go years? Most of us are. Are you ready for the slow-go years? Well, I don't even know what that means. And are you ready for the no-go years? It's so miserable. We'll think about it later. And Joe, that's where you come in, don't you?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what do you do and how can you be of help? And what do you take away from this story? Look, I mean, you're the owner of Home Watch Caregivers. You provide care when people are no longer able to take care of themselves. What do you take away from this story, and what is your guidance to people as they're planning for their retirement?
Well, you're going to see a lot of me when you come into those slow go and those no-go years. As you get older, begin to slow down, need a little bit of help. 7 out of 10 of us are going to need some help as we get older. But I really want to tell you that I want to talk to you right after you retire and you're in those go-go years, just to have a conversation so we all know and understand each other, and you know what to be thinking about as things change. Between 65 and 75, you're going to go. You're going to take cruises. You're going to be out and about. You're going to be going doing all those things you want to do in retirement. As you begin to slow down a little bit between maybe 75 and 85, you're going to be thinking about things like, okay, where am I going to live? Where and how do I want this to look? If something changes and I need some help, and it's not my family can't help, and I need a caregiver, and that's when you really need to have a definite conversation with me about, okay, these are the changes I'm going through. This is maybe a particular healthcare perspective I have because I have a predisposition to something, and I may have to deal with it as I grow older. How are we going to handle that, Joe? How are we going to handle my care? How are we going to make that affordable? Those are the years you got to really be thinking about. How are we going to make that affordable? This conversation starts early. You have a plan. When the time comes, you're ready to go. You're going to save a ton of money, and you're going to get the greatest care possible.
And when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. What exactly does it look like? When do you start calling? When do you start paying the Rolodex? And then there is another story about Social Security, When are you going to claim it? When is the best time to claim it? We'll talk about anything that touches retirement. You got a question, we got an answer.
Yeah, you got to wonder, is your retirement going to be a dream or a disaster? All right, get your questions answered wherever you want to go with the questions, too, at 206-421-1000. All these discussions, everything you want to read up on it, can be found at lifepointlaw.com. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. Learn more by going to AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the Aging Options portal. Visit AgingOptions.com for blogs, videos, and the portal.
I'm not a wealthy person, but I'd like to leave a little something to my kids when I'm gone.
Actually, there's someone who gets first shot at your assets when you die, before your kids can even touch them, the tax collector and creditors.
I don't know much about estate and inheritance taxes. I've heard about changes in tax laws, but it's a little complicated, so I just try not to worry about it.
Far too often, the cost of probate and estate taxes forces children to sell off their parents' assets, leaving little for them.
I'd at least like for them to have this house. After all, they grew up here, and we'd like to keep it in the family. They say you can't take it with you. I just didn't realize it was the tax collector who said it.
The elder law attorneys at LifePoint Law understand probate and estate taxes. They know how to protect your assets and your legacy. You can trust LifePoint Law and Rajiv Nagaich. Call 877-ELDER-47. That's 877-ELDER-47.
All this fun about replanning retirement here. Phone number, keep it in mind, 206-421-1000. Along the way, we got traffic and weather.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Well, some good news on northbound I-5. They have moved that disabled vehicle out of the roadway on the Ship Canal Bridge. All lanes are back open. The bad news is you're still stuck in traffic starting around I-90, and the delays will stay with you northbound up to the Ship Canal, although we are seeing signs that things are improving. You're probably stuck dealing with heavy traffic, though, both ways on I-5 through downtown Seattle, partly because of this disabled vehicle, partly because of the Highway 99 tunnel shutdown that'll be in effect until tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. That's also going to impact you if you're heading to the Sounders FC game later tonight that starts at 6 o'clock. If you're coming from the north side, remember you have to take I-5 to get downtown. The Kraken are on the road, the Seahawks played Thursday, and the Huskies are on the road, so we don't have much to deal with in terms of sports, but the Sounders are the biggie, and you have to take I-5 to get downtown from the north side. Northbound 405, the crash at Bothell after 522 is gone. Things look good on the east side on 405, both north and southbound, and I-90 crossing Lake Washington's in good shape as well. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
Good day to get outside and play, too. Latest forecast sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Sunny with temperatures upper 60s and near 70, low 40. Make that low of 51. On for more sunshine, even warmer tomorrow. Shorts, sandals, T-shirts, you bet. Come Monday, though, we'll be cooling down, rain showers, cooler temperatures by Wednesday. Could see snow in the mountains.
Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were.
All right, being older doesn't mean you have to sing all your songs slow. You can have energy and you can have fun here, but just a reminder, to just keep busy here. Welcome back to Aging Options. We have women as caregivers. In fact, caregivers in general. Who better than Joe Hillier, Home Watch Caregivers, as our guest. Real quick, too, we got some seminars we want to tell you about as Rajiv gets out, and in person. Free seminars to meet him in various locations for about 90 minutes to talk about retirement, answer questions. November dates are being set up. I'm seeing November 2nd, November 5th, November 7th. They're going to be in places like Redmond. Also, he's got one set in Tacoma there for November 5th, and then Federal Way on November 7th. We'll have more on that. But right back to the show, Rajiv.
Hey, let's connect the two stories, Joe. I think one of the stories that we have that I thought was utterly fascinating, which is to recognize a reality that we all know, but I don't know how much we talk about the whole thing, which is that it turns out that in the workforce, women caregivers are always working 2 jobs or more. And then the story about how do we plan for retirement, and we do a good job of the go-go years, as we talked about. I don't think we do an effective job of dealing with the day that either us or our loved ones are no longer as independent as we are today, or they could be, and then how are we going to deal with the whole thing? So let's connect those two stories. And what I want you to focus on, Joe, is to your caregiving agency. How can people best utilize the services and the resources that your industry has to offer to the broader public?
Okay. Well, gee, we offer resources that basically from the day you retire to the day that you no longer need a caregiver, you leave this earth, we're there for you. We can sit down with you the day you retire and help you map out what this is going to look like, in terms of, as this story this morning shows us the go years, the slow go years, the no go years. We can help walk you through that. You don't need me when you're 65, but you may need me when you're 75, and we can have a plan for that. And there's one thing that we always try to do with folks as they retire and they begin to change and slow down. We're trying to get a push of technology, so people understand what technologies as they age, they're going to have to learn how to use, because no matter how hard I try, and I have one of the best recruiting mechanisms out there, but I can't get enough caregivers. Nobody can. There's not enough caregivers and healthcare professionals in the system to take care of our aging population. So some of that's going to be changed up with technology, or technology is going to be brought in to assist. So there's some simple technologies that we try and get people understanding as they retire and they begin to age and they move to age in place and whatnot. That helps with the process. Never replaces the hands-on of a caregiver, but that technology is there to help you, interact with your doctors and those healthcare professionals and all those people that's going to be there for you as you grow older and take care of your care needs.
Yeah, but let me, practically speaking, let me bring up an issue up there. So clearly, I think there's no doubt, and you and I have been working together for many, many years, and even during the planning phases, I am instructing my clients to think about who will your agents call if you were to get to a point that you're no longer able to take care of yourself? And isn't it better to get a care manager? Isn't it better to get a care agency kind of identify that you want your family to go ahead and work with, and then you can meet with them? But when you say that people are going to be dealing with this issue, let's say they don't have a lawyer, they don't have a life planner like me, and they just want to go ahead and address this issue. Is it just as simple as them picking up the phone and calling you and saying, Joe, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself? And how do they do that?
Absolutely. You pick up the phone, you call me, you ask for Joe Hillier, phone number 253-564-1006. I'm going to pick that phone up between the hours of, just about anytime 24/7, but between the hours of 8 o'clock and up to midnight, because many of these decisions, many of these planning and thinking are things that don't come about until the middle of the evening, where you've had a chance to sit down and get through the day and digest the day, or, and just think about it. But no, call us. Call me then. I start the conversation. Tell me what your needs are. Tell me where you're at with things. Let me help you come up with solutions. And, and as you begin to think about, are you at the point where you need an in-home care company like me? Are you at the point where you might need a caregiver down the road? I'm gonna walk you through a list of, here's the things to ask. Here's the things to ask for. Here's the things to qualify an in-home care company. Hopefully, you're in an area I serve. I serve everywhere from literally the Canadian border down to Thurston County and out to the mountains. We have a home watch caregiver somewhere in that area. There might be a few areas where you don't have me, but I've got a whole list of things to ask if you don't have, or if you want to compare a company like mine with someone else. I've got a whole list of things for you to ask so you can make that comparison.
So let me give the phone number out again. We are talking to Joe Hillier. He's the CEO of Home Watch Caregivers of Tacoma, and his phone number is 206-234. No, let's start again. 206-564-1006. That's 253-564-1006. So let's get those numbers right again. 253-564-1006. Look, if you have any questions about how does the home care industry work, how expensive is it, can you actually afford it, how do you make sure that you get the right people there? This is a good day to be calling. Mark, how do people call in if they have a question for Joe?
Yeah, this would be good, too, because then you'll be sharing as you get your answers from Joe here and Rajiv. Everybody else benefits, and you kind of become the heroes, I've often say, for the talk shows we do here. Simple number is 206-421-1000. No experience necessary, no fee, no membership. How's that? 206-421-1000. That's the phone number to reach these gentlemen right now.
And Joe, let's talk about the first story that we have, and this is about women tend to be, more and more women are getting into the workforce, but it also turns out at the same time that at home, when it comes to caregiving duties, whether it's child care, whether it is parent care, whether it is just any care, it usually is the women who really take on the lion's share. So we are just about at the break, Joe, so hold that thought. When we come back, that's what I want you to go ahead and answer, okay?
Yeah, right. Again, you're listening to Aging Options. That phone number again, you're going to have questions. 206-421-1000. If you want to read more about women as caregivers and some of the other stories, normal brain aging, Social Security at 62, you can find it at the blog at lifepointlaw.com. Stay with us.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Well, I spoke too soon. I-5 northbound on the Ship Canal Bridge, that disabled vehicle is still there. They spun the camera around, which maybe thought I was gone, but now they spun the camera back, and it's still there. So, right lane still blocked on the Ship Canal Bridge. Northbound delays begin at I-90. Southbound, it's maybe a little bit of an onlooker slowdown, but southbound really isn't affected at all. I-90 doesn't look too bad crossing Lake Washington. That is important because 520 is shut down all weekend because of work they're doing underneath the Montlake lid. That'll reopen Monday morning at 6 a.m. The 99 tunnel in downtown Seattle is also closed. That'll reopen tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Everything looks good across Puget Sound. The ferries are all running on time. Don't forget, though, the off-ramp from Highway 16 eastbound to 160 in Kitsap County is closed. That'll be in place until Monday morning. If you're heading to the Southworth Ferry, take 166. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
Checking our forecast for the weekend, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. Sunny weather both today and tomorrow, otherwise partly cloudy. Upper 60s near 70. Rain increasing, 61 for a high. Monday, Columbus Day, Indigenous People Day, as some are having a 3-day holiday weekend.
I spent most of the next days looking at the x-rays, talking about the options, and talking about...
Yeah, we all hope for health in the retirement years for many, many, many years, but you just never know what happens. Planning is the key, having backup. Welcome to Aging Options as we continue right now. Talking about women as caregivers. Joe Hillier, CEO of HomeWatch Caregivers, with our host, Rajiv Nagaich of Aging Options. Gentlemen?
And clearly, and I think if you're driving in the car and you're thinking about listening to the show, or if you're just at home listening to the show, but you've got somebody that you need in your family who's not doing well, and you're kind of wondering, well, maybe it's okay, but what are we going to do in the long run? Today is a great day to be calling because Joe Hillier, CEO of HomeWatch Caregivers of Tacoma, no one better to answer these questions. How do you afford this stuff? How do you organize this stuff so that somebody can actually stay at home, which probably your loved one is going to be pitching a fit. They don't want to leave the home. How do you pull that together? And if you can't stay at home, you have to go somewhere else, where will you go? How do you find the right place? These are all questions that are quite vexing if you don't have a proper plan. And if you have those questions, this is a great day to be calling. I think the number is what, 206? It's 206-421-1000. That's 206-421-1000. Give us a call and we'll be happy to talk to you. Joe, talk to us about this. More women are working than ever, but they're also doing most of the caregiving at home. How does that square? And where do you guys come in? What do you see in the real world up there? And how do you help people like this who are double dutying at every turn?
Well, let me throw just kind of a statistic at you, Rajiv. You know, when you look across the U.S. workforce, you're going to find that the average U.S. woman is going to spend more time taking care of her aging parents or in-laws than her own kids over the course of her lifetime. And that's a startling statistic. And when you look at, that family caregiver, that wife, that spouse, that sister, that daughter, what they get into when they begin to take on the responsibility of caring for a loved one, it can become all-consuming, and it gets them to the point where they get so tired, so run down that sometimes they wear their bodies out, they get sick, they make bad decisions sometimes, and they go into this thinking they can do it all, but there's a point where they have to admit they can't, and that's where we come in. We come in with respite care. Well, it's great if we can sit there and work with the family early when they have to start taking care of the family has to begin taking care of a loved one, because there's going to be a point where they need a break, or they have to go to a meeting, they have to go away for the weekend, or they just need a break for the afternoon so they can go to the doctor or something like that. Where one of our caregivers can come in and take over care for their loved one that day, and they make everything work nicely, and that family caregiver comes back that evening and takes back over. But it's a team, it's a team effort, and God bless them. The family caregivers, they try and do everything all the time. They can for a while, but after a while, they got to have some help. They got to have a team, and we're that team that's there to support them.
So, Joe, talk to us about the costs that are associated with this stuff, right? I know VA, if you happen to be a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, and their VA is becoming a little bit more generous of late. Over the last year, 2 years, I've seen the purse strings open up a little bit. There are new programs that they're making available. What is your knowledge base about the VA, and how does VA help veterans qualify for home care, which can be covered by the VA system if you qualify for it?
Well, Rajiv, I got to tell you, every veteran out there in your audience is listening. If they qualify for VA care and they have not gone over to their VA and got assigned a primary care manager, get out there and make that call on Monday. Get out there and do that today, because the VA's got this great program. It's the Home Health Care Aid program. And, folks criticize the VA and some of the things they do or some of the things they've done in the past or may not have done in the past. And, but the one thing they do extraordinarily well is this Home Health Care Aid program. And what this program does is when a veteran qualifies for it, and it's basically when they begin to slow down, check off one or two of the activities of daily living with their doctor when they're troubles with mobility or things like that. But once they're getting into the program, this program will provide between 12 and sometimes over 50 hours a week of home care at no cost. The VA pays for it. So I have many clients that get this range of hours, and it's provided by my company, and they have a caregiver in a home, and it doesn't cost the veteran anything. It's free to them. They earned it with their service. I can't say enough about getting that primary care managers to get in the program.
There are a lot of benefits that you can qualify for, and Aaron Baker talks about Medicaid, which is the equivalent for VA when you don't have VA. We've got the music going. Let's get to the break. We'll come back and continue this conversation.
You're listening to Aging Options here, planning retirement. Again, lifepointlaw.com. You can read up more of all these subjects and learn about seminars Rajiv's got set up to learn about retirement and ask questions come November.
The News Watch never stops. News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000.
The Northwest's only all-news station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Rescue and recovery efforts continue in Florida after Hurricane Milton devastated much of the state. Governor Ron DeSantis says they conducted more than 1,000 water rescues and at least 17 people have died. At a briefing Saturday, DeSantis says post-storm dangers remain a threat.
We have continued to see, unfortunately, some fatalities as a result of things like down power lines. So please continue to exercise caution as you recover from the storm.
More than 2 million customers remain without power across the state. President Biden heads to Florida tomorrow to survey the damage. Vice President Harris releasing details of her medical exam records. Her physician in a letter states Harris is, quote, in excellent health and able to perform all the duties as president. Israeli forces carrying out fresh airstrikes across Lebanon today, including the southern suburbs of Beirut. The IDF targeting Hezbollah, but civilians also caught in the crossfire. This is ABC.
97.7 FM and AM 1000. All news, all the time. For Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue, and beyond. The Northwest's only all-news station.
9:31 here in Seattle. I'm Mark Christopher. Let's get a look at some of the stories we have here in the 24/7 Northwest News Center. A man and 3 teenagers arrested Thursday. This in connection with some nearly 80 violent robberies throughout King County. Seattle police with smiles at success here. A press conference, in fact, yesterday taking place as Detective Brian Wicker saying authorities arrested a 15-year-old, 2 16-year-olds, and an 18-year-old in connection to these crimes after coordinated surveillance. It was early September. Several King County law enforcement agencies began investigating a trend in robberies at gas stations, convenience stores, and late-night fast food restaurants. Seattle police saying the violent crimes also included carjackings, burglaries, and shootings. The crime spree totaled 78 known cases throughout King County, 22 of which here in the city of Seattle alone. Likely 100 or more people terrorized during these armed robberies of carjackings. Thankfully, police say no injuries reported. New Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg telling staff in a memo yesterday job cuts are coming among low to even high positions among the company. This will be about 10% layoff of employees. Jeremy Harris, Tacoma 4.
According to Boeing, these job cuts will include executives, managers, and blue-collar workers, all as week 5 of picketing starts for striking machinists. Yet Boeing's CEO argues the scariest thing is likely the company's financial outlook, with $25 billion lost since 2019, mainly because of safety issues with its planes. And then this strike.
We've kind of prepared for this a little bit, knowing that Boeing was going to be doing these types of things and walking into the strike. Yeah, it's concerning.
Following the news of these job cuts, Como learned the layoffs will include attrition and workers who leave on their own. Yet thousands of employees will still likely be cut.
They're trying to flex their muscle and say, this is what we're doing and what are you going to do next?
This man is a 7-year employee of Boeing. Whenever the strike is over, he says he has no idea if he'll even still have a job, all while raising 2 young kids.
I basically just give it to God, really.
Also announced, Boeing will delay the rollout of its new airplane, the 777X, for 1 year until 2026.
Quite a few of our teams have road trips here. We got the Huskies at Iowa City playing the Hawkeyes right now. Later on today, 4 p.m., kickoff for the Cougars at Fresno State for college football. The Kraken playing hockey in Minnesota tonight, 5 p.m. Kong TV, if you care to watch.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
The stalled vehicle on northbound I-5 on the Ship Canal Bridge blocking the right lane is really tying traffic up now starting after I-90. It's about a 10-minute drive through downtown Seattle right now to get from one side to the other to cross over the Ship Canal onto the north side. I can't believe I'm saying this, but take 405 instead. 405 is a much better option, especially if you're going up toward Everett. You're going to do much better to take 405 this morning. I-90 across the lake is in great shape right now, so that's your best detour to get around this mess on I-5. Southbound traffic on I-5 is in good shape right now, and the express lanes are running southbound, so that's not an issue. This is completely a northbound problem on I-5 right now. What you don't have is the 99 tunnel, because that's shut down for weekend inspection. That'll reopen tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And don't forget that the 520 bridge across Lake Washington is also closed. That is shut down until Monday morning at 6 a.m. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
Darren's on Colo TV with a forecast here sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services.
An afternoon of sunshine around western Washington. Temps today mid to upper 60s. More sunny skies on through Sunday. Some morning low clouds to start your day. Temps again in the mid 60s and cooler Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Going to the mid 50s in some spots and certainly a lot of showers for the week ahead. In the Como Weather Center, Darren's on Como News.
Current city temperature, still some fog around the city here. 49. I'm Mark Christopher, Northwest News Radio.
Memories press between the pages of my mind.
So many memories through the years. There should be plenty more once you retire, too. Keep healthy, have a plan, know what to do. Things can happen. Just look at the things that have happened over life since you graduated from high school. Welcome to Aging Options. This is where we talk about things and share things about retirement that nobody else ever talks about, and there's nobody here to teach you. We didn't learn about it in school. Proof? Listen for the next 25 minutes and you'll see what I mean. We have host Rajiv Nagaich here. Joe Hillier's with us here, CEO of HomeWatch Caregivers as well. And you're here too because you're a part of the show at 206-421-1000. Any questions you have in retirement? If you got a job, you're old enough to talk about retirement, right, Rajiv? You've told me that for years. So there you go, 206.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
421-1000.
That's 206-421-1000. Isn't that the truth, though, Mark? That is for sure. Hey, Joe, there's another story that we have. It talks about dementia versus normal brain aging. Some telltale signs and some telltale differences. Do you get asked that question from your clients from time to time? That look, I'm starting to forget things. I'm forgetting names. Maybe I don't remember the phone number as easily as I used to. And what's your answer to that one? What do you make of the story?
Oh, I get asked that question a lot, and I ask that question of myself a lot as I get older. Every time I can't find my darn car keys. Now, fortunately, they're not in the refrigerator, or there's just some pants I left them in or something. But, I mean, we all, as we grow older, I mean, I use words in a general context, cognitive decline. As you get older from the age from your 40s through your 90s, you go through changes, and it's more about your brain processing power, how fast you process things, or, a lot of times it's how much you really care about sometimes things. They're just not that important, and people think you don't remember what you're doing. It's like, no, I'll get to it. No, I mean, I digress. I apologize. But, no, it's there are changes. And some of those changes, there's a great report or a great test you can do at home. It's a SAGE test that I think it was originated with Ohio State University many years ago. But it's a great test to just kind of give you an idea there at home if some things are changing that you might want to have a chat with a doctor about. But as folks begin to get forgetful as they grow older and whatnot, the profound changes, things like I made the joke about, where did you find your car keys? Oh, they're in the refrigerator. You don't know why you put them there. Something like that happens. That's when you probably want to go have a chat with a doctor about, hey, doctor, I've, had some things happen that just don't make a lot of sense to me. And, it's time to run some of those tests that tell us whether we may be, heading into dementia, or there may be a touch of Alzheimer's, or, one or the other 180 plus, issues that you can have that are associated with memory disorders and stuff as we age. But,
so
your brain will change. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
The test that you're talking about, the SAGE test, right, is called the self-administered gerocognitive examination test. Is that easily available, and how reliable is that?
Well, it's a good start. It is reliable. I think you can find them online. It's a self-test you can find online nowadays, but it's a start, and it'll give you an idea as you go through it, and then you do your answers, and then it has the answer key, and it helps you match things up. It's like, if you're okay, if you're at that age where you're beginning to do a few things, or if you checked a few things there where it says it's going to tell you need to go see the doctor. And when you get to that point, let's go do it. If the SAGE test told you that you and the doctor need to have a conversation, don't wait. Go do it, because you may have something going on. Like my own father, and this is 20 years ago. My own father had Alzheimer's disease, but we caught it early. And back in those days, there was some tests being done that he qualified for, where he was able to work with some different drugs, or he was able to slow the onset of his Alzheimer's. And he lived with it for 9 years until, unfortunately, we lost him to a stroke. But it wasn't until the last couple of years where he went through those profound changes with Alzheimer's where things began to get difficult. But, I'm not saying that's going to happen to you, but if you have some of those changes that need to be talked about with the doctor, go see him now, so that you can figure out what is going on and some of the many new treatments that are out there to slow or stop the progress, or whatever you're affected with.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting, because we've got, and I'm looking at this test that is there. It says you can take this test, you can kind of figure out. So if you're really at home wondering whether you have Alzheimer's, whether this is a worrisome issue, you can take the SAGE test. You can just Google SAGE, S as in Sam, AGE test, and you can take the test and kind of figure out. Joe, another follow-up question to that one is, look, when you're going in as caregivers, there are many different reasons why people need a caregiver in their own home. But people who have dementia, or people who are dealing with their loved ones' dementia, they tend to be the most challenging. Do you train your employees? Is there a group of employees you train how to deal with people who are dealing with dementia compared to other issues?
Absolutely. I have a specialization in what we do, as our specialized care section that works with dementia, works with Alzheimer's, works with Parkinson's, and all my caregivers have gone through training for that. Many of them have a lifetime of experience with working with folks with these issues. But that's usually my most senior staff, works in that section, and I can't say enough good things about the wonderful work they do. As you go through those stages of those different diseases, there's some challenging times, and these folks just do extraordinary work making sure they take care of all the hard stuff, so that the loved ones can spend the quality time with their loved one that they need at that point in their lives, and we do all the hard work. So.
Right, and I know it's challenging because, family members pull their hair out when you're dealing with somebody with dementia. We got Miriam on the line. Let's just go ahead and at least introduce the call, and then we'll come back and finish the call at the end of the break. Miriam, welcome to the Aging Options. You're on the air.
Thank you. I have a quick question. My mother-in-law only makes like $800 a month in Social Security. The only thing she owns is her home. She has deeded her home at her passing to her son and daughter-in-law, who are living in, taking care of her. However, they're reaching a point where they need more assistance, and she refuses, of course, to go on Medicaid because she feels that they won't inherit because of Medicaid's recovery program, where they, I guess, sell the house after she passes and get the money back. So at that point, my question is, since she obviously can't afford Joe's services, it is Joe, isn't it? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Joe Hillier.
She can't. I would like her to access some services, but she refuses to get Medicaid services or Joe's services. I guess she's at the mercy of, I'm not sure what she's, the community maybe has a little.
Miriam, let me just say this. Nothing that you're saying is true. It's all what we hear from pop culture. When we come back after the break, I'm going to give you an answer. There's a lot of hope for people like you and thousands of people like that. This is the reason why I got into the business. My father-in-law was like your mother-in-law is. No, I don't want to look at any of these programs, and I want to, I'm responsible for my own needs, and then all the money ran out, and then he went on Medicaid. We'll come back and tell you why that is not true.
Aging Options continues, 206-421-1000. Miriam, hang on. Everybody, hold right where you are.
Thanks for listening to Aging Options on News Radio 97.7 FM and AM 1000. For more great articles to help guide your future, go to AgingOptions.com. That's AgingOptions.com and select blogs under the Free Learning Center tab. AgingOptions.com.
You know, I'm not a wealthy person, but I'd like to leave a little something to my kids when I'm gone.
Actually, there's someone who gets first shot at your assets when you die, before your kids can even touch them. The tax collector and creditors.
I don't know much about estate and inheritance taxes. I've heard about changes in tax laws, but it's a little complicated, so I just try not to worry about it.
Far too often, the cost of probate and estate taxes forces children to sell off their parents' assets, leaving little for them.
I'd at least like for them to have this house. After all, they grew up here, and we'd like to keep it in the family. They say you can't take it with you. I just didn't realize it was the tax collector who said it.
The elder law attorneys at LifePoint Law understand probate and estate taxes. They know how to protect your assets and your legacy. You can trust LifePoint Law and Rajiv Nagaich. Call 877-ELDER-47. That's 877-ELDER-47.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Still seeing some major slowing northbound on I-5 from I-90 to the Ship Canal Bridge with this disabled vehicle taking out the right lane. It's at least a 12 or 13-minute drive through downtown Seattle right now from I-90 up to the Ship Canal, so plan accordingly. And now I'm starting to see a little bit of slowing on the ramps from eastbound I-90 to northbound 405. I think this is people trying to avoid I-5 through downtown. Also seeing some unusually heavy traffic coming off the West Seattle Bridge onto northbound I-5. Don't have a report of a crash there. There's nothing on the cameras, but something may be going on there trying to get from the West Seattle Bridge onto northbound I-5. Going to keep an eye on that. Northbound Aurora Avenue approaching the Aurora Bridge. I don't see a report of a crash there, but there's some heavy traffic. This may be spillover from I-5 as well. Northbound 405, once you get past I-90, looks fine all the way north into Everett. That's probably your best detour to get around I-5 right now. 520, remember, is shut down both ways between I-5 and 92nd Avenue. That'll be in place, that closure, until Monday at 6 a.m. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
Nice and sunny and dry today. Look for highs near 70. It's Aging Options here at Northwest News Radio. Right back to it with your host, Rajiv Nagaich.
Hi, Miriam. So let me get right back to you. Let me get back to the call. You have a mother-in-law. She's got a home. Her only income is really $800 a month. And even though you've got your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, or some people are taking care of her, it's becoming a bit too much for her, for them to be taken care of, right? So we need to be, and before you left, I said, there is no truth to the fact that she cannot qualify for Medicaid, and your mother-in-law is freaked out that if I gift the house out to my children or I do any Medicaid planning, the house will not go to the children because of the state recovery rules that we are dealing with, right?
Right.
So with that, let me go ahead and say this to you, and Joe will kind of chime in if there's any VA connection. Is your mother-in-law, was she married to a veteran, or is she a veteran in her own name?
No, not at all.
Okay, so there's no VA benefits. Then that will open up the door to Medicaid benefits. And here's how Medicaid works. Anyone can qualify for Medicaid as long as they don't have more than $2,000. They can have a house and they can still get Medicaid, but the government puts a lien on the house. And when the person dies, the lien is exonerated before the children are going to get the house. This is what your mother is worried about. But there are there's not one Medicaid program. There are 5 different programs that govern how Medicaid is covered. And all of these programs work on this basis. On the day that you apply for Medicaid, the 2 important questions Medicaid are going to be, do you have more than $2,000? No, I don't. Have you given away anything of value in the last 5 years? Yes, I have. What did you give away? A house. What was the house worth? $600,000. Then Medicaid's answer for all these 5 programs, starting line is, then why do you think we're dumb enough to pay your way? Get your house back, sell it, and use that money to cover the care, or let us put a lien on the house. They all start that way. But there are 2 programs that are exceptions to those rules. There's one program that is in King County and King, I think it is King, Pierce, Snohomish, in these counties. It's called the CFC program, where you can apply for Medicaid and say, yes, I've given away money. And if your income is below a certain threshold, which your mother-in-law's income is below that threshold, she should be able to give the house away and immediately qualify for Medicaid without having to wait even 5 minutes. The delay will not be whether she is able to qualify for Medicaid. The delay will be how long does it take the government to process the paperwork. And typically the timeline is about 60 days to 120 days, between 2 to 4 months.
Rajiv, she lives in Douglas County, Wenatchee.
Okay, so that's one program. Then there's another program that will allow her to go ahead and move the money out or give the house out to her children and still qualify for Medicaid. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to call Aaron Paker. That's Baker with the P as in Paul. Aaron Paker. He is at LifePoint Law, my law firm, and he is the one who handles all these types of cases. I want you to call him at 253-838-3454. That's 253-838-3454. And regardless whether your mom is going to receive care at home or whether she is going to be receiving care in a care facility, she should not have to worry about my life's hard work. This house is going to be snatched away by the government. It will not if you follow the law.
Great.
Okay? So call Aaron Baker on there. And to the rest of you listening, let me say this to you. This is the example, this is the prime example of failure of proper planning. Look, at the planning stages, when you think about how do we plan for retirement, we do a lot of work in retirement, don't we? It doesn't matter how much money we end up with or how much income we are having. Our retirement planning goes something like this. Let's go into retirement with the house paid for, with as much money as we can have. Hopefully, we'll stay as healthy as we can, as long as we can. And if we stay within our means, if we live within our means, we are not overspending our income, life should be okay. There's almost never any planning done to what happens if I do lose my health. Where is the money going to come from? Who will take care of me? And prototypical, what happens in this case is you've got Miriam's mother-in-law's family taking care of him, and they will do the best they can for as long as they can. But eventually, there could come a day that she couldn't be taken care of at home. And if you don't plan for these issues ahead of time, what happens is people fail to live out their lives in their own home, 70%. Almost everyone who falls ill will start feeling guilty. I become the burden I didn't want to become. And we're going to lose money to these costs, even though the laws say you can protect the money if you do planning ahead of time. Is that a reason for you to do the planning? The story that Joe and I talked about earlier about retirement, the go-go years, the slow-go years, the no-go years. Have you planned for each one of those things? We all do planning around the go-go years. But what are the slow-go and the no-go years? That's different planning. That's called life planning. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. I want to get Joe's take on that. And Joe, I want you to add to that if there's anything that you want to add to it.
Okay, Miriam, I know you can still hear us on the phone here, and everybody else listening. All this they're speaking of and sharing. You can find more, read about it at lifepointlaw.com. You can get the phone numbers for like Aaron Paker that Rajiv was mentioning. Also, check out the seminars. He's got time at least 3 times a month to get out for about 90 minutes. You're not alone. You're with a group of people, so you can hide in a corner, but I know you won't. November 2nd, Redmond. November 5th, Tacoma. November 7th, he'll be in Federal Way for the locations and exact make that directions to get there. And again, did I mention these are free? So bring a coworker, a neighbor, a friend. You're going to talk about retirement. You're going to talk about how to have a plan and not to end up with a disaster, but more of a dream come true. Go to lifepointlaw.com for more details. Stay right where you are.
Northwest traffic from the High Performance Homes Traffic Center.
Well, now we can definitely say that the disabled vehicle has gone northbound on I-5 on the Ship Canal Bridge. All lanes are back open. Unfortunately, the damage is done, and I think it's going to linger for a while. Northbound I-5 is a 15-minute drive now from I-90 up to the Ship Canal Bridge. Once you get onto the north side, things look okay, but it's getting there that's going to be the problem. This is going to linger, especially with that 99 tunnel being closed all for the remainder of the day up until 6 o'clock tomorrow. you're going to be looking at heavy traffic on I-5 through downtown for the rest of the day today. Coming off the West Seattle Bridge onto northbound I-5, that is a slow drive as well. Still don't see any reports of an accident there. Think it's just heavy traffic, but you're looking at some heavy traffic coming off of the West Seattle Bridge onto northbound I-5. Northbound Aurora Avenue approaching the Aurora Bridge. This is affected by I-5 as well as the closure of the Ballard Bridge this weekend. Expect some heavy traffic northbound there coming out of downtown. And eastbound I-90 onto northbound 405. Lots of folks avoiding the slowdown on I-5 northbound. That's causing that ramp to slow down onto northbound 405. That's Northwest Traffic. I'm Brian White.
And the forecast here for this weekend of October here, sponsored by Northwest Crawl Space Services. This could be it for warm temperatures and lots of sunshine. Near 70 both today and tomorrow. Fog in the morning hours. Some of you still dealing with it. Overnight low 51. Rain and cooler temperatures Monday. Cold enough Wednesday. We could see some snow in the mountains above 4,500 feet.
Woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head.
There will be a day you don't have to get up and comb your hair and race the clock and catch the bus and get to work on time. It'll be retirement time. But it's always much more if you have a plan and know what's going on. Welcome to Aging Options. We just continue with the conversations and the ideas. Your host, Rajiv Nagaich. Joe Hillier still with us here, CEO of Home Watch Caregivers. Take it away, Rajiv.
And here we are. Joe, this is... we got a little bit time left up here. So we talked a lot in the last one. We heard about Miriam's issues. Do you have anything to add to what we discussed in the last show, that there's a lot of help available if you do the planning properly and know who to go to?
Do that plan so as you know where those resources are, whether they're your own resources or resources of your community, state, federal. When you turn 65, you go through everything with Medicare to make those transitions and whatnot. It's time to sit there and go, okay, these are my, like we talked about earlier, these are my go years. I need to be thinking about what things look like when I slow down, or if I have certain health issues that may affect me as I grow older, how we're going to handle those, and have a plan for that so that you understand what the time, the cost, the commitments are to that. And so it's not an ambush for you. If we can get hold of it now, get our arms around it now, when the time comes that you need a bit of care or a caregiver or something's changed in your life, or you need more stringent health care assistance, you've got a plan for it. You know what the costs are, and it's not going to be a surprise to you, and you're going to save a ton of money, a ton of time, and you're going to get great care.
Got it. And people like Miriam can call you because even if they qualify for Medicaid, there are times that you can accept Medicaid as a payment source.
Yes.
Got it.
And if I can't, I know who can, so I can almost always help.
Got it. And this is Joe Hillier of Home Watch Caregivers. Folks, really, if you're looking at your future, you need to have his number at hand. And his number happens to be 253-564-1006. That's 253-564-1006. Joe Hillier of Home Watch Caregivers. Joe, thanks so much for spending your Saturday morning with us. Come back again, wouldn't you?
Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you to all your listeners out there.
All right, and to the rest of you, age on.
The preceding program was paid for by LifePoint Law and does not necessarily